got you on the list for the 30th, correct?
Always enjoy our encounters.
It's the boy and being up with probation.
Who's the deal here?
The 7th is a break.
How are you?
Is it?
Yeah,
I should.
justice can get political locally. It's really political in the federal court.
I'm assuming the 7th will be.
Just occasional. Most of the time, I think it's pretty fair.
You better get decorated.
I got everything.
Oh, you
You
know,
know, somebody said, you know, sometimes.
Okay.
Not all the time.
just like the second words and put ours together.
So that is definitely true.
It's already done. We got
Somebody
Oh, dude.
got up to high school in Florida. And I don't, I only have his side of the story, so, it sounds really bad. That he shouldn't be doing this much time, but it's also the possibility I'm not getting the whole story. Well, I don't have any incentive to find out that he's
Both are
not
looking
getting
old, though. Damn.
Some of the people out in California.
Hey, it's warm this time of year, too.
I'd like to call to order the November 18th, 2019 Board of Works. Roll call, please.
Board Member Paul Seymour Jr. Here. Board Member Alan Callaway. Police Chief Don Combs.
Here.
Fire Chief Johnny Tremaine.
Here.
EMS Director Rick Clark.
Here.
City Attorney Del Weldon is absent. In his place is Doug Garner.
Here.
City Coordinator Brian Messmore. Here. Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
And President Kelly Milan is absent. And in his place is Mel Davis.
Here. Any announcements? Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? If you approve the minutes, I'd like a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Committee reports.
We need a motion to approve the November, what am I looking for? November 4th Board of Works
Okay.
claim packet as well.
Claim packet.
Claim packet for the November 4th meeting. We need a motion to approve that.
Do I get a motion to approve?
I got a question. I'm not sure what it is.
This was from the previous Board of Works meeting. We didn't have a Board of Works meeting. Council had approved the claims, but we need Board of Works to approve it as well.
I got a question. We voted 5-0 in council to pay utility back for a job on construction. That, I seen an email to Mr. Colin Browning, and there's been some negotiating that's went on, which I don't approve of. I can't build a house and ask 150 for it and then all of a sudden get 75 for it and everything's right in my world. But I really want, there's a few things involved here. I'm sitting back knowing that our utility, if they had this money, could invest it in our fiber and move this along, possibly either hire another person to do the work, subcontract it out, speed up the pace a little bit. Not that I'm complaining. I know it takes a while to do things, but if we can go from 2 or 3 a day to 4 to 6 a day, I think it would be an improvement for the city. I think it's good. in the years past when Mr. Davis has been utility director, and I'm not complaining here, but this wouldn't even have been an issue. We would have got the job done, it would have been completed, there wouldn't have been any questions asked, and we would have spent the money to do it. I don't know that it's a bad project or a good one. I watched a semi truck hit a pole last week, so they're doing it all the time. So I say to soften that curb on each end is probably a good project. And I think it needs to be done, and I think it should have been done without any questions asked. And I know that there's, you know, I've had it told to me that, hey, Paul, we know nothing about construction, but yet we're complaining about $1 million+ bill. You know nothing about construction, but you take a job and you turn it into something negative for the public. So I don't like a person that knows nothing about construction halting a payment to the utility and keeping us from investing that money in our fiber and making this city turn and go smooth. So where I'm going with this is I don't want to improve this whole packet. I would be willing to make a motion to pay what you just mentioned,
The November 4th claims?
minus Mr. Delaware Weldon's lawyer fees. There is some on there, but I want him to get a feeling of what it's like to not be paid.
Brittany, can you make note of that? So you're making a motion?
I'll make a
Pay
motion.
everything in the claim packet minus Del Weldon's lawyers fees?
Minus Del Weldon only, not the pillar groups. There's other lawyers involved. They need to be paid. But if this man's gonna send an email after 5 working people that were voted to council, 5 working people that the city of Lawrenceburg counted on to make good decisions, and I'm not knocking Mr. Weldon. It takes a lot to be a lawyer. That's his world, not mine. I don't know much about it. But he stepped into my world when he says that job costs way too much. I went across that intersection every day for months. I watched those people work. I know what they make. They make a good living. They make a good wage. I know it's a good project. I don't think he should have the right to override 5 councilmen that made a unanimous vote to pay this bill. And that is why I'm making that motion.
But that was based on the work logs that weren't provided.
Work logs were provided.
Every record that we had was provided, Richard. And I think Colin can attest to this. The conversations that we have with you and Brittany over there on the job are not the same conversations that show up in this chamber. And Paul's free to act and say and do the things he wants to say tonight. When he's talking about negotiating, my thoughts to Colin were, you know, while I wholeheartedly believe that the project was, number one, not my responsibility, but that number two, what we built the city was fair and equitable, I was willing to compromise and just take payment for the materials, the actual materials we bought to do the job, pay the subcontractors like Terry Sloan, some of the others, for the work that they did on the job. And I mean, Colin's free to speak about the reply he got on that. It was inappropriate. When 5 elected officials, duly elected officials, vote on something, and I hope the 5 that are in the room, the new, listen to this. Who's to say that you won't be in the same boat at some point? You're duly elected by the people of this community. And when you make a decision, that decision carries weight. So how is it that one person that is unelected, it's a private citizen really, can usurp the authority that is vested in you by the citizens of this community? And that's in effect what happened.
Your Honor,
I've heard enough. This is not the board to discuss this in, and the people they're going after are not here to defend themselves. I don't know why you're letting it go on. This is the Board of Works, contracts and property, period. There's no contract. This poll has nothing to do with the Board of Works.
Tony, I agree with
Stop
you.
all this. Bring it to the council meeting, bring it to the LMU meeting.
Tony,
Not here.
Tony, I agree with you. I'm just responding to what was said.
I'm getting asked to approve something, and I made my motion.
Mooch, are you okay with this?
Is there a second?
I would like to abstain for the simple fact that I was not here when the vote was taken, and I really am not up to date on what exactly happened.
We've got a whole claims packet of stuff, guys, that's not been paid. I understand there's issues with the LMU, I do get that, but there are other people out there that need to be paid. Did you get the claim packet from the November 4th meeting? I mean, have you reviewed any of it?
I don't even know if I've got it or not.
Okay.
It was the day before my wife had her surgery.
Are you two available to meet Thursday or Friday? That's gonna be another question that we've got for an issue coming up here with the new EMS hire.
I won't be. I'm driving to Texas tomorrow. The last meeting we had, I made
If he's gonna abstain.
Let me
and-
say something.
Sure.
The last meeting I had, we made the same statement. Would we be available, if I remember right, if my memory's right, if it's not, somebody help me here. But I was expecting a phone call between now and then to get this stuff handled.
And that's
But,
my apologies, I got sick. That's
Okay.
totally on me, and I take 100% fault on that. What I'm saying is, if you're abstaining and you're voting for it, I don't think Mel, as just a presiding officer here, can vote to break a tie. Am I correct?
That's
Deb?
correct.
So that means we can't move forward again with the November 4th claim packet, which is
Unless,
fine, but if that's what you want to do.
does Board of Works, can council okay it? Does it have to go through Board of Works?
Council has already approved what they can out of the November 4th packet. We need the Board of Works to approve the remaining.
Well, I'm willing to approve it, less Dales. I've had problems with this all along, everybody knows it, and, that's just my feeling, guys. I think this is something that has, actually, it's just been an embarrassment.
I truly don't want to go against what the council has said.
Well, there's a portion of the claims that council approves, there's a portion that the Board of Works approves. You're the Board of Works, so you guys need to approve your portion so that we can get these people paid. If you're going to abstain and you're voting, if you're making any motion to vote for it, then it doesn't matter because it's one abstain and then we have nobody to break a tie.
Is it safe to say that if Mooch would go along with me, that all claims would be paid except the one I mentioned? And then that's,
Well, what's Del Weldon have in the packet? Do you know offhand from the November 4th?
if I remember right, it was in the $10,000 to $12,000 range.
I mean, I at least want to know what we're doing here. Let me see if I can find it. Was it only one claim? Do you remember?
Yeah. I think he had a claim and Zach had a claim.
But you're okay with Zach, just not Del.
I'm okay with Zach. Zach never sent the email to Colin, basically saying that I don't care what they said, this is my decision. And Colin, tell me if I'm off a little bit.
Are you sure it wasn't in the 23rd in this packet? The claims for tonight?
Last meeting.
Do you have the claim packet, Brittany? Are you looking to? Not for the 4th? You don't know the APV number, Paul?
I didn't bring it up.
Richard, I don't know how council approved the November 4th meeting either, because that meeting was canceled.
I don't think we did approve it, Aaron.
The November 4th meeting was moved to the Thursday, so the November 4th claim packet would have been approved at the Thursday meeting, but you didn't have the mayor there, and I believe Mooch was out as well, so then we didn't have a
I don't think we
BOW.
approved it because I think the statement was it needs to go through the Board of Works first.
That was just for those two. That was the roofing payment and the ice rink payment. All the rest of the payments were approved by council. Those were two Board of Works things that needed to be done.
All right, claim APV number 4723, Delmore Dean Weldon III, City Attorney for legal services through 6/28/2019 for $20,063.57.
Is excluded from the motion.
You're refusing to pay that.
I am.
Are you okay with this, Mooch?
If everybody else is gonna get paid, I'll second that motion.
Rich, does that include the
Moved
roofing
and
job
seconded.
and the ice rink payment? That was supposed to go back to the Board of Works and they haven't had a meeting since.
Brittany?
There were two ice rink payments. The first ice rink payment would be on that one. The second one would be on the new claims packet for today. So you'll have that. That's a separate motion. But I don't know if this is relevant, but that was paid out of the general fund, which I believe was approved by council. That would be a legal question, but I don't know.
Well, that
if
is
Board of Works-
relevant, because if council approves Dell's pay, then it's already been approved. Doug?
I'd have to go back and look. That's not something I'm prepared to address.
All right, well, right now, I think we just need to move forward with saying that we're going to exclude this payment for Dell so that we can get everybody else paid. Doug, if you could do some legal research to find out as to whether or not this has been approved or not for payment, that would be good for us at the clerk treasurer's office, and we can move forward from there.
I'm sure
Mooch,
there'll
do
be some
you,
urgency to figure that out.
Mooch, do you second the motion to pay all the claims minus Delmar Weldon? So we have a second. All in favor? Chair. I'm sorry.
All in, thanks, that's all right. Richard, do you want the gavel?
No, I don't want the gavel.
All in favor? Opposed?
World point. That's
Motion
something
passed.
I can't order anything else.
Committee reports, fire?
How we doing tonight? Just give everybody an update. The township agreement is coming up to be renewed, and you should be seeing that probably next month to move that forward with Lawrenceburg Township and the agreement between the fire department. I was going to touch on just a little bit, the guys, our whole department was in Aurora Friday night I'm sure everybody heard about the large structure fire. We also was there. I just come back from fire on Coal Lane. They had a barn fire tonight, so they've having a lot of repeat issues here. So just to let the board know, we're helping them out as much as we can. And then we've started on our third week of our vehicle machinery rescue class. We've been doing that. This is the start of our third week, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the city, Civil City, their group, because they actually helped us move a lot of equipment in. If you've been over to the city garage, it looks like a junkyard with all the cars. We ended up doing 15 cars, a bus, a semi-truck. So we've still got another week of that. So some good stuff going on there. So, that's all I got.
Any questions? Police,
I have nothing to report tonight.
did you find your water?
I did.
Thank you. EMS?
Nothing other than, I think Richard did Jenny Felix get in touch with you about our,
Yeah, Jenny had called me earlier. What she would like us to do is to table the new EMS hire. There's still some information that she needs to obtain before she can move forward with recommending the person for the hire. She did want to move on that as soon as possible, but if you guys aren't ready to meet Thursday or Friday, that wouldn't be possible to do this week. Perhaps early next week, could schedule a work session.
I hope as early as possible, sir.
How about Monday?
I'll be gone till after Thanksgiving.
Well, if we had the mayor back, we had Mooch, we would have the quorum, correct?
Right.
So we'll just move there. Are you available Thursday or Friday?
Yeah.
Would Thursday or Friday be better?
Either one.
Well, we'll plan on Friday then. So we just need a motion to table that.
Well, we'll need a motion, Richard, when the new business comes up.
Sure.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Okay. New business,
Time's good for you.
new EMS hire.
What'd you ask?
New EMS hire.
New EMS hire. Move to table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other new business come before the board? Old business, 2020 salary ordinance.
Mr. Weldon has instructed me to ask that you table that business.
Request to table, is there a motion?
Does he have a time frame?
Pardon me?
Looking to get it done?
Well, obviously, it would, preference would be to get it done as soon as possible. But I think it's been a couple of meetings now, at least one meeting where it's not been passed. So the expectation is it probably won't be passed until after the first of the year, and then deal with the consequences of that. Obviously, it's not going to prevent the city from paying its employees, and whatever the consequences are, we'll have to deal with.
I was gonna vote for it. I think at the last meeting, who was the one that voted?
You voted against it?
Yeah, I got my stuff out tonight with what I want, if you wanna run it through.
Well, I certainly think everybody'd be happy if it got
Let's do it.
passed. The expectation was that it wouldn't be, and there'd be another long argument about why it shouldn't be passed. But I don't think Mr. Weldon or anyone else has any objection to passing the salary ordinance.
Brittany, did you have a comment?
I believe this is an ordinance of council. I don't know that it's a board ordinance.
I think the last time, wasn't it just
It
one?
died for lack of second.
Huh?
It died for a lack of second.
In
On council, right?
Yeah.
And for the record, this is ordinance 16-2019.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Mike Clark, 2020 street rehab bid opening.
Thank you. We advertised and received bids today for the 2020 street rehab projects, and we did receive 2 bids. Paul H. Rowe Company and Dave O'Mara Contractors. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the Paul Rowe Company. And tonight we're just gonna open and then take it under advisement, because there's it's a unit cost with a total per the quantities and a couple addendums, and we've got to go through this, myself and the engineering firm, with a fine-tooth comb before we recommend, and we will bring it back at the next meeting for you guys with a recommendation. The total of all the units for Paul H. Rowe is $683,702.79. And the total of the unit cost from Dave O'Mara is $655,728.30. And again, I don't think, I guess you guys can make a motion to take it under
Like
advisement,
to bring it back next meeting.
and then
after
we'll
you
bring
study.
it back with a recommendation from the engineering firm. Once we go through everything, acknowledgement of addendums and all the units and everything else.
That'll be ready for the next
Yes.
Board of Works meeting? Okay. I need a motion to let Mr. Clark review the bids and bring them back for consideration at the next meeting. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. We have this month's claims to approve.
But before, I probably should have brought this up under new business.
That's all right.
Hey, Mike, got a question for you.
Yes.
Down there behind Walmart, is there any intentions of any streetlights going up down there?
That is still on Waterview. That's still private. We haven't accepted or assumed that. The developer, he's working on trying to come compliant on the punch list, but he's not there yet. So until it's ours, we don't have any plans for anything.
Okay. Well, I got a little 5'7" dude that's stomping on my hind end about them lights.
You know, right now it's total control of the developer.
Okay, I told him I'd bring it up, so.
Okay.
Okay, we have this month's claims to either approve or reject.
Motion approved.
Second. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Tony Abbott.
Here.
Councilperson Aaron Cook.
Here.
Councilperson Mel Davis.
Here.
Councilperson Randy Abner.
Here.
Councilperson Paul Seymour Jr.
Here.
Police Chief Don Combs.
Here.
Fire Chief Johnny Tremaine.
Here.
EMS Director Rick Clark.
Here.
City Attorney Del Weldon is absent. In his place is Doug Garner.
Here.
Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
City Coordinator Brian Messmore.
Here.
City Court Judge Joe Johns is absent. Mayor Kelly Milan is absent. Presiding over the meeting will be Council President Mel Davis and myself.
Before we get into the board reports, any announcements?
Your Honor, I've got one.
Go ahead.
We've had some really cold temperatures lately, and so we're going to be reaching out on social media, letting everybody know that it is going to cause their utility bills to go up. If they'd like for us to come by their residence and help them do an assessment on how to better winterize their home, we're willing to do that. But there will be an increase. There was about a 20% increase in heating degree days. And so you can usually expect to see about that amount of an increase in your utility bills. It's almost a one-to-one relationship. we kind of get past these cold spells, and then people wonder why their bills have gone up, and then we have to go back and try to remind them of what the weather did. So trying to make some announcements now while we're going through the current cold snap. And we will, like I said, be putting some social media blasts out talking about that and offering to come around and helping people assess their homes and figure out how they can better conserve energy.
Thank you, Mr. Claus.
I've got an announcement.
Okay.
The Greendale Cemetery Association wanted me to read this to council tonight as a thank you. Greendale Cemetery Board of Cooperators is wanting to thank you for your generosity for the fabrication and installation of the new archway for the entry gate on Nowlin Avenue. The Greendale Cemetery, HenFab Inc., did a fabulous job on the fabrication and installation of the archway. The Board of Cooperators is very committed to maintaining the beauty and peacefulness of the cemetery. The new archway shows your commitment to these same ideas. Again, thank you for your generosity. Sincerely, E.G. McLaughlin, Secretary and Treasurer.
Thank you, Richard. Board reports, streets, alley, and curbs, Mr. Cook.
No report.
Finance, Mr. Abbott.
Good.
Parks and Playgrounds, Mr. Seymour.
Nothing.
Fire, Mr. Abner.
No report.
We're moving right along. Approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Moved, or motion
Second.
made, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Committee reports. Chief Tremaine,
No further report.
Chief Combs.
Thank you. I mentioned last meeting of the second grade Tiger football wanted to have a bucket drive. That's not going to happen now. I made contact with her, and she made contact with me and said they can't do that, so we don't have to worry about that. They're not going to do the bucket drive, so just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. We are going to also provide some free active shooter training here in the near future for some businesses. We have active shooter trainers for that, and it's free services for any company that would want that. So, in light of what happened last week, so everybody's getting scared.
Your Honor, would you guys also provide that for religious organizations?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's all the report I have.
You know, I'm going to say something. It might not amount to a hill of beans, but I'm probably older than everybody in this room. We never had active shooters. The only active shooters we had were the military. This is ridiculous, in my
Yeah, you're
opinion.
telling me. We used to have tornado drills in school too.
Exactly.
So
Well, I
that's,
remember we had to get under our desk in case there was an atomic bomb attack, so.
But we're all going through it this time of age. But you know, it's here, it's real. So
Yeah.
we just have to accommodate and
Well,
live it.
that was my only comment. It just struck me. There was another shooting, I think in Oklahoma today, so. Anyway, EMS,
No further report.
do you participate in the active shooting drills?
We haven't yet, but we would look forward to that.
Okay.
Since you did mention that, the shooter that happened in Santa Clarita, California,
Yeah.
that's where I lived briefly, and they took those patients to the hospital that I used to work. So I can attest that's a very real thing. And if it can happen there, it could happen here just as easily.
City Court, Judge Johns is not in attendance. New business, Miss Edwards?
You were talking about that. I still remember in the 50s where we had to go to the underpass and get down
Oh, yeah.
because of the bomb. You was
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
the
you had to
bombs
get
here.
under your desk.
Yeah, so that wasn't too long ago, so. The reason I'm here this evening is I wanted to come in and ask you all if it would be possible for us to take an early draw on our 120,000 that we're getting the first of the year of 20,000 of it. But before you make a decision, I also wanted to let you know that not only did we want the early draw, we have made some changes to help correct any shortages. We're now down to just Aaron and I working and one part-time person. So that's going to save us a tremendous amount of money every year. And Aaron and I are both perfectly capable of doing it together. We have made some other, our bingo license are in here, so we're very happy about that. We do have a little Christmas program going on this year, but like I said, as the city knows, the revenue, especially this time of year, gets down in, for us, it gets down to around $6,000 for about 4 months straight. Aaron, is that it? About 4 months straight. So it would really be of a help to us if we could have an early draw on 20,000 of that.
You're not asking for an additional amount of money, you're just asking for an advance.
Yes, sir. That is correct, Paul.
Will you be able to sustain it next year minus the $20,000?
Yes, and that's what I was just explaining to you, because the changes that we made because we had to make, that will affect probably $30,000 right there of savings, Richard. And it wasn't an easy decision, but it was one of those that any of you that sit anywhere in a business or anything, you have to make. And you don't want to make it, but you have to make it, and that's what we did.
Is there a motion to approve Ms. Edwards' request?
I've got one question. Does the mayor have to allot the money?
Pardon me?
Does the mayor have to allot the money? Let it go, Richard? Or can the board just say,
That's the
Hey.
council's decision. They're in charge of the money.
what's the mayor's budget? Does,
But it's council's decision on how to spend it. So that's my opinion. You can ask
well, I'm asking
the
Rich.
legal counsel.
Rich
Brittany, is this
legal counsel.
typical that you would do in advance on a funding?
Well, you can't really advance a future year's budget per se. You'd have to take it out of a current budget line. So it's really hard to predict how the end of the year goes. We get a lot of invoices that come in for the end of the year. Contractors like to get paid before the end of the year, but we'd have to take it out of a different budget line. Like the current budget line for the adult center is at 0 because they already got their funding. So we would have to find another budget line for it.
And
I
who
think
has
the
to-
other day-
Who
I'm
has to
sorry.
agree to that? Does the mayor agree to take it out of that, or is it the
I
board?
mean, you can approve it as long as the funding is there. In the event we got to the end of the year and that budget line was gone for other city claims, it would be too late to appropriate more money.
In this case, is this seen as like an additional appropriation for this year?
Could do an additional appropriation, but we're running out of time just because it has to be advertised and it has to be done before December the 14th.
Well, the other day when I spoke to Suzanne, she said that she had talked to you and you said it was fine with you. And she said, it was a matter of looking and there was some extra money in a line item here or there that it could be appropriated from. And she said she double checked with you and you gave the okay.
No, I did not give the okay.
Must have been a misunderstanding.
So-
I would say it was a
So
misunderstanding.
it would
I
be
didn't
an
give the
additional
okay.
appropriation then, and that would have to be, how long would that take?
Well, there would have to be advertised, and there would have to be a special meeting held for it. We're doing some additionals at the next meeting, but that was already advertised. It has to be done 10 days prior to the meeting. So the predicament we get in is there would be budget money available today. It's just from our point of view, we don't know what other departments order or purchase, so we don't have any idea what other invoices could be coming in for the city. So right now, there would be availability. We just don't know what the rest of the year looks like.
Could we
Does that
have
make
it
sense?
done by the next meeting?
No, we couldn't by the next meeting.
Is there a fat line item anywhere?
In my opinion, no. And that was one of the problems, one of the things we had talked about when that conversation had happened. We had some discussions about how that would look, what we could do.
It's just hard to predict the future. If we were not to get any more unexpected invoices, then probably so. But we get invoices all the time. We don't know any services that any department.
Is there anyone else in the county that could assist?
Hey,
Please.
Richard,
Is there anybody else in the county that could assist?
in the one account that you were gonna pay us out of but didn't, I think you said you had 400,000 in there. You're obviously not gonna pay us, so maybe you could pull it from there.
There we go again. Every chance.
Brittany?
That would be the
Tony, I'm sorry if the facts are
Every
not.
chance you get, you throw
Hold
a
on a
little
second.
jab. That's
Wait.
it's ridiculous. It's childish.
Good idea.
It's true, though.
The fact. Just trying to be helpful.
When does the foundation meet, Marie?
It would take too long.
Does it?
Yeah, it would take too long. And Tony's very aware of the situation and our need. And he said the other day it would be fine with him.
Well,
So I guess there are people changing their
We gotta do it
minds
the legal
now.
way. I just gotta find out how to do it the legal way. That's all. I'm not against it, Marie. I'm not against it. I just wanna know if it has to be appropriated, we can't take it out of next year's budget. She just said you can't take it from next year. It's got to be from this year's money.
I'm not arguing with you,
So
Tony.
how can
You guys either approve it or don't
It's
approve
just,
it.
it's like the council spends the money that's appropriate. I mean, if you find a compatible line item, like when they put the $60,000 roof on down the street, I mean, they found a line item and took it out of it.
That's what I'm asking.
Right,
That's all I'm asking.
that's kind of a good point, is we don't know, we had no idea that invoice was coming. So you never know what could be out there that we don't know about. The line that I would suggest using.
We don't know about it either.
Right, but the line that I would suggest using right now has $11,000 in it. I'm gonna propose an additional appropriation, I think of $300,000 for that line. That's also the line that we have to pay all the attorneys, not Dell, but all the attorneys out of. And
I don't
so
want to take the attorney
the-
money, God
those-
forbid.
Those bills, to be real, those bills are hefty. We don't know what's coming until we get it.
I don't want the seniors to take anything away from any attorneys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we even went there.
That's less our attorneys, right? We pay our own attorneys.
Again, we just make the vote to do it if the money's there to be appropriated.
We'll have to make the decision where to take it from now.
I mean, Marie wouldn't want to wait until the end of December to get her money if we know that there's money there or not. That would be
Wait till the end of the summer.
the end of December.
Oh,
What I'm saying is, we could pay it now, we just don't know. Like, if there were I guess I'll say it like this, if there were a bill that we can't pay at the end of the year that were city related, we would just have to hold it till 2020, if there wasn't enough money in the line.
here's what we can do. I can cut all the senior programming and let them know that the money is for the city attorneys. And so maybe we'll just handle it that way.
Let's
Marie.
don't talk like that. We're trying to work this out here.
Could we approve the 20,000 based on you two finding the money? And then we'll take it out of her budget next year, or you guys can take it out of the budget next year?
Can we do that? Can we do that?
I don't know.
Budget's run
I think we can.
What's the best way for us to do it, Rich, and get the money to them?
Yeah, well, I don't know about
I mean, if you
that.
want to go ahead and make the motion, we can look into it tomorrow and go from there, but I'm not going to make any promises sitting here right now because I simply don't know.
Not that I would have voted for it, yes, 100 times out of 100, but I never heard about the graveyard iron.
That
fence
was-
with, I mean, none of, where did that money come from?
I think that came out of a grant money, wasn't it? I think that was some grant money.
How about the IT committee paying for all the
Mr.
cameras
Seymour?
around town?
Mr. Seymour, I know where that money came from. That was money that the city has already promised to the Cemetery Association for the upkeep of the flame and all that, and they took it out of that account.
How about the IT, the camera work, how's that, I mean, that never came before us. There was a lot of checks, the apartments up there, that's not the only thing we've been, hey, I'm okay if you guys put in a real effort, let's try to make this happen, see what you can do.
Well, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and let the clerk treasurer look into this and see if we can find the money.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain though.
Roll call.
Councilperson Tony Abbott.
Aye.
Councilperson Aaron Cook.
Abstain.
Councilperson Mel Davis.
Yes.
Councilperson Randy Abner.
Yes.
Councilperson Paul Seymour Jr.
Yes.
Before I sit down, I would like to say something to you guys. I always say when you came in, you were the knights on shining armors. And it kind of makes me a little sad to see all of you go. I've seen so many councils come and go. And of course, Tommy's coming back. And I know the new folks are going to be just fine and everything. But I'm going to miss the heck out of all of you. I really am, guys. Paul, Randy, Mel, Tony, Aaron, you know how I feel about you. I really miss
Well,
you
you'll
guys.
see him every day.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we have a long history, Marie, since '02,
We sure do, Mel.
when we got Captain Hook.
That's oh, well, fear not, because this gentleman right here told me he's going to get Michael Jackson for y'all. Thank you guys very much.
If he gets Michael Jackson, that'll be something.
Yeah. Okay, next order of new business is High Street vacation, Del Weldon.
This is again related to the new Flaherty and Collins project. There's additional property that the city has to vacate. And the ordinance involves, do you all have it in your packet?
Yeah.
Everybody had a chance to look at it? Anybody have any questions about it?
I can't figure out where the vacation is on it.
That's a very good question. Should have brought the full-size copy of it, because I can't read it, it's so small. Let me read it for you.
Mike, could you help us out?
Excuse me, is this an ordinance you're going over right now?
Yeah,
Okay, so you got an ordinance in
Yep.
ordinance in your packet's what I'm asking.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mike, do you have
I'm
the
sort of lost there when you guys started talking.
details on that?
If you're looking at the map, is it on the top right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that additional 33 foot of property that redevelopment is gonna convey to them.
It's almost a square.
And it's that same section just to even up what's been vacated in the past.
Okay.
Just to square it up.
Yes.
Okay.
This will be 8-2019 for your records.
Motion to approve the vacation.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Old business.
Your Honor, I know we've got the salary ordinance, but we've also got a presentation that Mr. Seymour asked to come back, and Mr.
Okay,
Abbott had
sure.
asked about on fiber update, so if we can do that after this item. Oh, no, I'll wait till after the salary ordinance.
Okay,
after this.
Sorry.
okay. Salary ordinance, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Second? Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call?
Councilperson Tony Abbott,
Aye.
Councilperson Aaron Cook,
Aye.
Councilperson Mel Davis,
Yes.
Councilperson Randy Abner,
Yes.
Councilperson Paul Seymour Jr.
Yes.
Motion passed 4-1. Okay. Is there an update on the fiber?
While he's getting this ready, Mr. Seymour had asked us to evaluate a couple sets of circumstances as it relates to the fiber to the home. The first premise would be that we continue to build out the project using our own personnel with what resources we have. The second would be if we were to engage contractors to expedite a couple key locations within the city.
having some technical difficulties. I don't know why my mouse has disappeared. Sorry about that. There we go. Thank you, Council, and I just want to give a quick fiber update. With respect to our build-out, as currently stands, we have just about 7 miles of underground construction to be completed. About 6 miles of overhead construction. We still have several splicing enclosures to finish, which take the majority of the time, as well as the ATCs. So we anticipate with current construction, assuming we get funding, that we can complete all of Lawrenceburg within 2 to 3 months. I'm going to start out. One of the big items that had a lot of curiosity was the complex at the Hill, Riviera, and we did go ahead and start construction on that last week. Our original timeline was to start on Monday, and we had some electrical issues, so we did go ahead and commence with the construction on Wednesday of last week. Yes, sir.
You have to go through the homeowners association?
Yeah, so we've been working very closely with Riviera itself, as well as Archer Homes. And, I'm sorry?
Fisher Homes?
I'm sorry, Fisher Homes, not Archer Homes. And actually, Fisher Homes is actually also the units that they have not built. They are willing to put the fiber into these individual units as long as we supply the fiber itself. So that's going to dramatically cut down on the costs. And we have to work with both because obviously Fisher owns the units that haven't been built, and so we're in touch with them on a weekly basis. And especially now that construction is moving forward, we can go ahead and just finish that up.
And before we get too much further along, also, the thing to understand about Fisher Homes, any resident in Lawrenceburg that asks for service to their home, whether it's overhead or underground, we give them 100 feet free. If it goes beyond 100 feet, they have to pay time and materials for those assets to be installed at their home. Fisher Homes is one of the only places that's privately owned, so it's condominiums that are privately owned. So we have a formula that we know collectively how much each of those homes qualifies for that 100 foot. So we give them the same considerations as we do individual homeowners in the community. That's different when we get to apartment complexes. You'll kind of see that because the ownership's different. Right. Go ahead, Moosh.
Okay. So with respect to Riviera, there's 267 homes total there. Our cost is about a little under $900 per unit. Total cost to do Riviera, $230,000. $798.82. These are actual costs. These are not estimates. Construction, as I mentioned, started on November 14th, and we anticipate completion with Riviera before the end of the year. Those were the commitments we made to the folks there, and we want to stick with that. Now, one thing that we didn't have before was our anticipated annual income. And this is based on an under 50% take rate with the majority of the customers signing up for a 100 meg service. We anticipate about $81,460 a year. So that cost within 3 years will be paid off, assuming that the estimates are correct, which is under 50% take rate, which I gave a presentation there last year, and I had overwhelming majority of folks ready to sign up if we could get service to them. So
and I'll say most of our modeling has showed that about 70% of the homes in Lawrenceburg have some type of an internet connection, whether it be CenturyLink, Comcast, whoever, and that we anticipate that we'll have about a 75% take rate just based on market pricing alone of those 70%. And so I would agree that these numbers are conservative in terms of the amount of people that we would have as customers in the area.
That is correct, sir. This is just a detailed cost for your own records. I basically sat down with contractors, got cost for boring heavy rock, which is a big issue in Riviera, regular boring, splicing, the enclosures that we need, as well as the bolts. I also added engineering cost and a 10% contingency, as well as the customer premise unit. And so that's how I came up with the 230,000. Now, with respects to the construction for the entirety of Lawrenceburg, Riviera is a big chunk of that, it's 230,000. I believe at a council meeting, Mr. Abbott, you had requested the cost to do just Edinburgh. So I sent a detailed cost to Ms. McMadams, and I believe she forwarded that on to the mayor and as well as you. So that kind of gives you a pretty good understanding of how much funding it takes to do these apartment complexes. So Edinburgh itself is almost 27,000. And then, of course, our customer premise equipment, secondary protection ring, and contingencies, it adds up to almost $1.6 million, or a little over. Okay. So with respect to funding options, really there's two options available. There's municipal bonds, and then there's the mutual development funds. If we can get funding, we are on schedule to finish the construction in Lawrenceburg within 2 to 3 months. If we don't receive any funding, then we're looking at about 12 to 18 months for construction completion. And then if we can't get some assistance and we end up having to, then we're gonna have to essentially pick and choose areas where we see as most profitable. So a lot of the areas we would love to do, like low-income housing, any subsidized apartments, areas like Edinburgh, we would still definitely do those, but they will go to the back burner, and at which point we'll concentrate on areas, new developments, areas where we know that we're gonna guarantee our payback within a couple of years.
That wasn't our original agreement, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, the original agreement was.
Downtown was done, not pick and choose. Downtown was done. All low income, so the kids could do their schooling. That's why I voted on this. And now it's all changing. Now you're gonna pick and choose and the low income people won't get it?
Unless we get funding, I don't see how else we can do it.
Had funding in the beginning. We've got almost $6 million into this thing now, right?
We've got about $5.5 million, including the data center, yeah. And that's been put up all by the utility. We haven't taken money from MDF. We haven't taken money except for the backbone piece, which is $700,000 from the city. All the rest of the funds have come from the fiber. And I think this is part of the thing. You want to call it childish. When we make plans to invest, I don't know how you feel about your business, but if somebody withholds $1 million of payment to your business, I think you might talk about it. So we talk about it. We could do a lot with $1 million.
About it in the right meeting zone. That's all I'm asking you.
We talk about it in the council meetings. It got voted on unanimously, and those funds are still being withheld from us. So, I mean, I don't know where else we go from here. It has an effect on a business like it would any business. We are a business. We operate like a business. When we're not paid, it affects how we operate as a business. It's real simple.
Well, it's been a complicated thing too. It's not just give us a bill and we'll pay you. You gave us a bill and it was overcharged. You were paying. You were charging us for the insurance of the employees.
You know,
so that was cut down. So it's not just
what did that
the
remove
simple
from the
cut
total bill?
thing. And that's what I'm saying here. The guys that you talk to are not here to defend themselves. So why?
I'm not talking about
defending
defending themselves. I'm just explaining. You want to know why we're not doing things? I'm giving you an explanation for it. I'm sorry if it's not convenient, but when we're not paid for work we do, it's hard for us to have money to go and put into other investments.
And we voted 5-0 at the
5-0, but it doesn't seem to matter.
And the guys you're talking about haven't been here in a month.
Speaking of
No, they've had surgery. Come on now.
Speaking of payments, how is the collection rate? People paying on time?
Yes, for the most part, our residents, they make their payments because If they don't, the alternative is, and unfortunately, we have to discontinue their service, and then there's penalties involved. That's just a normal case of doing business. If, you know, goods and services, they have to be.
Let's talk about it. Who doesn't pay their bill to us?
Well, we have some, the next slide discusses some issues that
Let's talk about
the utility is having. I'll just go ahead and move on to it. So other issues and concerns, one of the biggest issues that, as far as non-payment is concerned, is the city. We've had the internet for the city up since August, and we have not received any payments. I did hear back from the mayor's admin, Carrie Ketman, and I requested a meeting last week asking why we haven't gotten our payments for not only the internet, but also for the data center co-location fees.
And just so everybody understands, the water department, the electric department, and the sewer department all pay the same rack space that we're asking the city to pay. It's a fair market price. My electric department doesn't get away with not paying that bill. Neither does the water, neither does the sewer. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow when we have the event center as a customer. We have banks as the customer. We've got hundreds of customers within the community. But the only customer that doesn't pay their bill and hasn't for several months now is the city.
Does the city pay an electric bill?
They do.
Does the city pay a water bill?
They do.
Sewer bill?
They do.
Does
the city pay some of the utilities, electric bill and water bill?
No, we pay our bills.
None of your buildings the city does
We
not
pay
pay.
our bills.
They don't pay the gas for the heat. None of them?
We pay our bills. And Tony,
No,
you're trying
for all the property the
to
utilities take.
conflate the issue.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to say, why don't you do this when they're here to defend themselves and talk about it? Brittany?
Brittany, why have we not paid the utility, the fiber bill?
I can provide a little bit of context. The co-location bill, we just found out about last week.
That is accurate.
So,
That's the rack space bill.
The
That
mayor
is
has been
accurate.
out, due to
But that's the small portion of the
yes,
bill.
and that's $1,200 a month. So that is an agreement that has not been signed by the mayor yet. They just found out about it. We just found out about it. The city's fiber bill, that's a monthly bill. I think we received our first bill a couple months ago, so we have 4 months worth of fiber bills. I've talked to the mayor about it. He reached out to Nexigen to see what buildings of the city are on fiber. Currently, the police, fire, and the city garage are not hooked up to fiber, but that is our cost. They got it to our buildings. We have to now pay for the fiber to go from the D-Mart to the building.
And the reason for that is it is not Moosh's position nor mine or anybody in the utilities to dictate what a customer has as their end equipment. That's for the customer to pick. That's for the customer to choose. I will say that we were paying, $1,550 per month for 200 megabits, shared best effort with Cincinnati Bell. We're currently providing 10 times that amount of capacity for $5,000. If CenturyLink were to provide that, or Comcast or Cincinnati Bell, that would cost you $15,000 a month. We're handling more than that, actually, because just the cameras at Ludlow Hill Park, which we've had online for 4 months now,
Probably a little more than that.
that capacity alone exceeds the contracted amount that we provide the city. But we agreed, as a benefit to the city, that we would have a cap on the amount that we charged you guys for data. So you're receiving far more in terms of benefit than 2 gig, but we're only charging you the much cheaper rate of 2 gig for $5,000 a month. Same capacity cost you $15,000 with Cincinnati Bell. But we can't seem to be paid for that.
Okay, Brittany, is that in the pipeline to be paid?
So what our office was waiting for was signed agreement, so a signed fiber agreement and a signed co-location agreement. The agreement exists, it hasn't been signed. So we're waiting for the mayor to come back from his procedure to sign and then move forward.
So when was this agreement finally made? Was this recently or has been sitting up
The
there
fiber
before?
agreement, Bush, we
Both,
had a verbal on
I'm
this
asking
3-4
Brittany.
months ago.
Both agreements were sent several months ago. One of the reasons, like say, for example, like the hotel or the bank, if they didn't pay, we would shut them down. The reason we can't do that with the city is because it would dramatically affect the police cameras and various issues that we just simply, like, we cannot shut them down because they need those services. But at the same time, and this is more of something that Colin can answer, which is statutes that prevent us from not taking funds from the city because we have to charge equally to all parties.
It puts us in a catch-22 because if we don't collect for that, and then we get audited by State Board of Accounts and they say, well, you've been providing this benefit, we pay for it. We pay for the connection. But we're not charging. It's just like electric or water. Doesn't matter if it's a city, doesn't matter if it's a private customer. The treatment's supposed to be the same. So if we're not accounting for that, it puts us in a bad spot because now when we get audited, they say, well, you're providing this service, but you're not taking payment on it. That's actually, I think, a Class 5 felony to have an existing rate, but not charge that rate or collect that rate knowingly. So it puts us in a tough position.
At the end of the day, if the city has a provider now and they're gonna move, will they be saving money going to you, or will they be spending more money?
No, they're saving dramatically more money. The same services we provide, if we look at 3 meg, under Cincinnati Bell, that would be a multiple of, give me 1 second, I'll tell you what it'd be.
All right, so it just gets down to it. Sign the contract, which the mayor gets back. The mayor had knee surgery, guys. He's been out. He gets back. Then
It'd be about $23,000 a month.
And then it can legally be paid. You can't pay something if you don't have a legal signed contract either. So that's kind of catch.
Well, no, that's not actually true. There's inferred contract and there's written contracts. State law speaks clearly about both. Inferred contracts are where you're inferring that you're providing a service. They're taking the service, deriving a benefit from it. There's a 7-year that you can go back on inferred. There's 10 on written contracts. So we've been forwards and backwards through the issue. We're providing the service. The data center is being utilized. We're providing the service. Unjust enrichment at the very least. We need to be paid for those services.
Does anyone have any other questions?
What can we do as a group, as council, to help move this along? Can we do anything? I mean, Tony, do we need to vote?
One thing, if we're talking about solutions, one thing that we need to figure out is it would benefit the entire city. That look, we have 200 and some cameras that are out there. A lot of those cameras aren't hooked to the fiber system yet because there aren't funds to hook those cameras to the fiber system. Those cameras are a safety and well-being issue that should be hooked up, but I can't pay for that out of the fiber utility. I can't pay for that to do that. And so I think to be helpful in this process, the fire department, the EMS, the city garage, or all the departments that aren't hooked up, Moose and I, it's an easy thing for us to go around and help understand what those costs are going to be. But the city needs to appropriate some money to pay for those buildings to be hooked up and to pay for those cameras to be hooked up. Because we get back to a whole funding issue again. The utility cannot be all things to all people. We can't pay for all of these kinds of things. There has to be some money. If it's bonded, it's bonded. I don't have a problem with that. But the money has got to be found and appropriated so that we can complete these things, because every time I hook a camera up, it's real materials that are bought. It's real people out there doing the installation. And there's real costs that come with it. So one thing that would be helpful, and I know that Moose and I have talked about this, we're more than willing to sit down with each department, find out what their needs are. They can choose to have us do the install, or they can get a private entity to do it. The event center, for example. We're in the midst now of inking a contract with them to do complete managed wireless system for them for all of their internet services. We currently provide that for the banks. We currently provide that for industrial supply. There are a lot of businesses who have come to us to get them online, not just get them online, but provide the solutions for the insides of their properties. And I think the contract with
Well, industrial trade and supply is a great example, because here's a company where their IT department, all their servers and electronics are in the middle of their building, and they have this massive warehouse. We demarcated on the side of the building where our utilities come in. And we talked to the owner of the company, said, hey, you know, we terminate right here. That's standard operating procedure. We know that you need to get from our fiber to your electronics in the middle of your building. That's something that we can provide you a cost to do, or we can recommend. And at that particular case, because our guys needed to be moved elsewhere, I recommended a gentleman named Jeff Bittner from Indicom to come in and give us an estimate. Said, hey, this is going to cost me $500 to get from the fiber to the electronics in the middle of the building, and Industrial Train Supply were more than happy to pay that. They realize that that's a cost that they have to bear because that's internal wiring, and they paid it, and they're very, very happy with their service.
And one thing too that everybody needs to understand is this is a brand new utility for us, but we've got people who are absolutely skilled. We've got technicians, Stacy Mucker, Gene Lee, Michael Harper, Foudy, who can show up at a home, troubleshoot a broken fiber, fix the fiber, put the OTN on the house, get the customer up and running, do all the things that they do in the big city. We can do all of that here and provide our customers with the absolute fastest service for the least amount of money possible. And not only that, we've had a couple customers who, we had one lady who her poor dog chewed through her fiber twice now. Imagine if that happened at your home, calling Comcast to come in and fix that. We were there same day, fixed it. We could have charged them, I think the on-hour charge was $165, but we waived that as a way
the first time
to show our customers that look, not only are we going to show up right away and fix the problem, we're also going to be good to you about it. And so we have some really skilled people who we could do a lot of things to really improve a lot of lives and businesses here in the community. We just need the opportunity, and I think one of the ways to get there is to look at some of those funds that are available. Let us assist the city to developing those costs, whether we do the work or not. Right now, I'd probably prefer that we didn't, because we have homes and businesses and things that we're trying to hook up, and we have a limited number of people working for us. But we're happy to do that if we need to. But at the very least, we can help those businesses, the city businesses, understand what their costs are to be hooked up. Sure.
The last I heard from Carrie on Friday was there was intent for Moosh, myself, Carrie, and if the mayor is able to come in and discuss this and discuss the agreement. So as long as that happens, if the mayor signs the agreement, I could cut the check that day.
I spoke to Carrie today. I saw her as she was leaving, and I asked her again if we could get together, and she said that she is going to try to get me in this week. You know, obviously the sooner the better. Like, we just need to shore it up. We already went through these contracts months ago, and everyone agreed, because we had several versions of the contract, and once we finally came to a version that all parties were comfortable with, that's when we, you know, turned on the circuit and assumed that, you know, that we were all good to go. We should have.
Well, we're still moving forward. We're doing the migration for police department now. Working with Schneider to get all that stuff moved over. So our intentions are that we're going to keep moving this stuff forward. I met with Brittany the other day and let her know that from a technical standpoint, we have to send a letter saying we're going to disconnect services, just because that's required of us. We treat every customer the same, so we got to send the city the same notice. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but I have to cover my bases and send the same notice, the same communication that we send everybody. But we're hoping that we can figure this out.
I am so confused with all you people up here right now. This is absurd. You guys are sitting here fighting amongst yourself as a city about payment for fiber? Really? This is absurd. This is almost, I don't understand it. I am lost right now. I'm lost. I'm sorry.
Well, Tom, let me help you a little bit if I can.
There needs to be some help, because
okay.
Joe, the public, I probably would never want your fiber for one.
Come up here just a second.
I'll come up there. we're sitting here debating something for 20 minutes, and it sounds like a cat fight about the city fighting the city.
Well, here's the deal.
I'm listening.
Okay, when you built your garage,
Yes?
that's, I don't know if you built your house or not, but I know you built your garage.
Right, anyway, the
Okay.
point,
All right, the city brought the cable, the wire to your mast, right? Or underground? Is it underground or is it over here?
mine's above.
Underground?
What, I'm not understanding, following your point here.
Okay, the city brought the service to your building.
Correct.
And from that point, from the meter, the bottom of the meter in, you had to pay for, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
It's the same way with the fiber. The fiber company brings it to the building.
I understand all that, but it sounds like there's this inner fighting about payment.
Well, yeah, I don't understand that either, but,
Yeah, that's my whole,
but here's,
I understand your whole logic here, but this is just a little absurd from what I'm seeing here tonight. I'm sorry.
well, here's,
We don't want to fight, Tommy, we just want to pay.
here's
You
the
need to look at it from this end, because
Well,
I understand what you're saying. I know how the whole process goes.
Well, here's the misconception from a lot of people. And I know you understand this, you were on the utility service board before, that the utilities are a separate business. Each one of them
Correct.
is separate.
Right.
Okay? So, they aren't owned by the city, they're owned by you guys. Every one of you is an owner, okay?
Utility ratepayers. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So every utility deserves to be paid by whoever's using it. Otherwise, your bill goes up because you're subsidizing Richard.
And I understand all that.
Yeah,
I'm
you
with
don't-
you.
you understand
But
it,
the
but-
last thing, and I'm sitting down. If, what'd you say it was $1,500 that they owe you?
No.
15,000?
No, it's, the original.
How much
it's-
is it?
It's
Just
about
tell me how much
40,000,
it is.
about 40,000.
20,000?
40,000 if you look at everything we've
And
got,
this
including
is-
the server charges.
But what we're
gonna
acting
waive.
like here tonight is this is stopping the whole program. It's gonna stop everything.
Well, no, it's not gonna stop it, but
That's
it's,
the way I'm seeing it out here.
well,
And you're throwing up these numbers, you know. All right, let me ask you this question, and I'm sitting
Okay.
down. How many people are on this fiber right now, and how much money do we have in it? Said
we
$5
have,
million we got in. How many people do we have? How many
What's the
customers?
total number of customers?
Let me rephrase that. How many customers?
Over 100 residential and probably close to 20, 30 businesses.
Okay, that's cool. Good. The whole thing is here, man, is whatever needs to be done. This needs to be done because really this is absurd. It
well,
really is. It's,
no, I don't disagree
it's
with you.
absurd.
I don't disagree
It's
with you,
absurd.
but the only
I look at
opportunity.
what he did tonight to get an argument started. That's the way I'm putting it right now. When
I
he
look at it
started,
as education.
when he started, and then Mr. Clausing started bringing up numbers and started throwing the city under the bus, it looked like that was brought up for a specific reason to get something going here tonight that doesn't need to happen. And I hope that people that I sat with, we do not act like this.
My
Because
question-
we're doing
let me ask you a question. When am I supposed to, we're supposed to have this in the public, these debates, these discussions. If I don't talk about it here, where does it get talked about? If I don't bring up the fact that we're not getting paid for services and the city's the one not paying the bill, how do we talk about it, Tommy? It's discourse.
I don't know, but it just seems like this is a fight. This is a cat fight
I
that's
think I
got
want
out
to
of
be here
control.
talking about this tonight? Absolutely not.
Was this even on the agenda for this tonight? Or were you coming up under, I need to know, were you coming up under old business?
It should have been under old business because Mr. Seymour asked
I didn't
for it
see
to come
anything
back.
on the agenda for that.
We didn't get put on the agenda, but Mr. Seymour specifically asked that this come back to council.
Okay. I hope and pray you all get this
Seymour
straightened out
specifically asked.
because it's really, again, it's absurd. It's
Who
absurd.
did Mr. Seymour specifically ask?
Thank you.
I asked it in the meeting.
But did you follow up to make sure it was put on the agenda?
Tony, one thing that I've learned in serving on this council the last 4 years, I ain't got enough time. I don't have enough time, nor can I put in the effort to make sure that the people I trusted 4 years ago that talked to me and assured me that we would all work together, do that. Because if anything, and you know this to be the truth, we have not worked together, and I am very, very disappointed in
Ain't
that.
nobody more disappointed than I am the last
Right.
2 years.
I don't like nights like this either, but me and you have made the best living we could have possibly made all our lives, and we sure as hell didn't make it by giving up our money. We can't run a utility or an electric company being on the utility board doing this stuff.
Yeah, but I haven't seen one thing. I haven't seen one bill for the city. I haven't seen one contract. Shouldn't we see that? Couldn't you have brought that to us, Olin? Could you not have brought that to us?
We voted 5-0 to pay for the street softening the curbs over there on Front and Center. I don't want to forget about that.
That goes into the mayor's position.
You're right.
You know that. He's the one who allocates the money.
You're right.
If he puts it out there, we'll spend it. We'll pay
I
it.
don't expect to get anywhere. We haven't got anywhere for 4 years.
2 years. We did pretty good first 2.
3 years and 10 months.
All right, let's move on.
Back. Yes, I am.
We're still on audience comments. Anybody
Okay,
else?
good. Anybody else have any comments?
I had some other old business before Tommy got up there. I know Linkmeyer's been calling all you guys. I just want to get a work session set up with him. Just to go over the main thing he wants to do. He wants to offer the city $1 million up front and then pay the rest back as he hauls dirt, like an agreement. And I know he's calling me, and he's calling a few people up here, maybe everybody. I don't know.
Calling me about every other day, and last time I talked to him a few days ago, he said wait till next year.
So
Now
I
he's
mean,
wanting to do it again.
I just want to get a work session set up and hash it out, or not hash it out one way or the other. But I mean, does anybody else want to have a meeting with him and listen to his proposal, or if not, then I guess tell him to stop calling you. I don't know.
He had some different numbers when he talked to me, but.
Well, when I talked to him, it was $1 million. He talked to his partner, bringing a $1 million check in, and then so much per load up for the other $2 million, so it'd be $3 million. And he'll sign the agreement for it and everything.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
3.3 guaranteed. I don't care if we shovel one.
I don't know about the
thing of
0.3,
dirt.
but I know at least 3.
It would have to be guaranteed, though. I'm not just. I'll give you so much for dirt up to $3 million, and then the time lot runs out.
No, there's no time. I talked about it.
Took the time off,
you
but
told me
still,
about that.
it has to be guaranteed what he borrowed, 3.3.
I mean, that can
And
be
then
talked
I'd
about in the
be-
work session.
then
I
I'm
mean,
good.
I'm not Linkmeyer. I don't know.
No, it's not in court.
Did it? What about the last chance to appeal?
Yeah, it's over. Court case is over.
Court case is over.
City won.
When we get our money.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? We've got an attorney working on it. Been working on it diligently now, Mr. Sprafka. I think he's been to this council meeting at least once, and he's certainly prepared to come back anytime the council wants to hear from him as to the progress of the collection efforts. Certainly, if the city's going to have a work session, Mr. Sprafka should be included, because he's got the most recent information on Mr. Bischoff and Mr. Linkmeyer's finances. Whether or not that's $3.3 million is collectible for the city.
I'm always willing to do a work session. Doesn't mean it
That's
doesn't
all
matter.
I'm asking. If anybody wants to do it, they do. If they don't, they don't. Does anybody else here want to have a work session?
Long as we.
Mel, what's a good day for you? Because you live far away.
I don't care.
Let's pick a day. It don't matter, man. What's a good day of the
Mondays,
week?
Fridays, Tuesdays, not Tuesday, that's my grandson's
Okay.
day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay, I will just, let's see.
Prefer it on a Monday.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we have a work session for a Linkmeyer, with Linkmeyer for next Monday at 5 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock. Utility board meets at 5.
4 o'clock,
So it's only gonna be a 1 hour meeting?
I guess so.
Boy, that's not good.
How many hours do you need, Tony?
It's gonna take longer than that.
Are we gonna have our attorney that's involved in this case there at that meeting? Want them there?
That makes no difference, whatever you guys want. I'm just bringing it up to try to get it hashed out and get the city some money, or let it die, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, I think we've been arguing this since I've been on council. This is my 8th year. We've got one payment from Mr. Linkmeyer. Like he said, we've been in court, we've won the court, we haven't got anything since we won the case. I mean, here we got a chance to get a $1 million check up front before we signed the agreement, and then a current agreement with his partner for $2 million, at so much per load of dirt. I mean, $1 million guaranteed up front, and then the rest. I mean, it's better than I've seen in 8 years. I mean, that's up to you guys.
I would second your motion as long as we could have our attorney there with us at that meeting. Because I'd like to see, you know, what his advice would be on that too.
Moved and seconded for a work session next Monday at 4 p.m. All in favor?
Providing attorney can be present.
Pardon me?
Providing the attorney can be present.
Well, that was part of the motion.
Okay. Just want to make sure it's in there. I'm making sure.
And I suggest all new city
All
council
in favor?
members attend, please. Cause they'll
All
still
opposed?
be going on next year.
Passed. Have a work session next Monday at 4 p.m. to discuss pending litigation, or litigation, I don't know what you call it.
That mean you guys are gonna have him present?
Yeah, he'll be here.
He'll be here.
I got a few questions. The $58,000 for the Antique Mall's roof, the mayor approved it. Did it get paid? And who, it sounded like the Board of Works or council did not approve that. So I'm curious how that happened.
How what happened?
How it just got, let's
There
cut a
was-
check.
There was no meeting that night. The Board of Works members were not here, and that they had to approve it at the last meeting, but they were not here. So it couldn't be approved. So it had to be approved at this meeting, and it was approved this meeting, right?
Yeah.
So Bob, that means it's a free-for-all.
Is that what you're asking, Bob? How-
Yeah, and the other one is Paul says he gets an email that you voted 5-0 to pay a bill. But since we got a different attorney here, so are you saying the attorney can override everything council votes on if you don't like it? Did I not hear that right?
You didn't
That
hear
he
it
said
right.
he's not gonna pay it.
I'm not saying it, but if you remember, right, about 3 months ago, Mr. Weldon was asked that question, and he told us all in a public meeting that yes, he can. And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong here.
I think it was less than 3 months ago, though, but yeah.
But the question is, can he?
He ain't only can he did.
Wow. And the other one, the bill that they owe Mushinep, how long is that? 2 weeks ago was the election, right? Or whatever, and the mayor was around. Did that just hit his desk between the election time and now?
No, we had an agreement. We came to an agreement 4 months or 5 months ago, probably.
It was in July.
So July, we came to an agreement. And so we moved forward. We'd had several back and forths in the contract, probably 6 iterations of a contract. Got to a point where all parties felt the contract was appropriate. We moved forward based on that commitment that the contract was good.
It just seems like a couple people are running the whole city.
Why do you have a council anymore? I don't understand.
I don't
All you need is a clerk treasurer and an attorney.
Moose, let me ask you a question. Could you come up, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If Joe didn't pay his fiber bill, what would happen?
He would get a notification that his services are being disconnected.
You'd give him a letter or some sort of notification saying you're in arrears?
Correct. That would be no different than our electric. Our bills are due on the 15th. On the 16th, he would get a disconnect notification that if it's not paid by the end of the last Friday before the month is over, then we would be forced to disconnect.
Okay.
Brittany, you got something to say about this?
So.
Wait a minute, man. Let's hear what she has to say, please.
Well, I've been talking to Mish about this for months. And
Yeah.
I know it was before the rodeo, I asked you for a copy of the fiber agreement, and I just got it last week.
Just got it last week, and you wonder why your
I
bill's
mean,
not
Carrie
paid.
may have had it,
Move
Carrie
on.
may have had it before that.
Yeah.
But I had not even seen an unsigned copy until
Mhm.
last week.
And like, I know that like there's all these issues with billing and stuff, like, I'm here to design the fiber and get it built, and that's my primary concentration, is
Well,
making sure
who's-
that fiber's.
Who was in charge of,
I'd like to get everybody together, because, you know, I just sat here and heard you say, oh, this been done since July. Now I hear her say we got it last week.
Tony,
Now,
it's not-
there's
no,
too
no.
much double talk going around
No,
this room.
Tony.
Too darn much. I want
The fact
everybody
that
in
they
front of
got the
each other.
contract-
When the mayor is here to answer to it, and when Dale is here to answer to it, then you ask your questions, and then we'll find out the truth.
It
'Cause
wasn't
right now
our
it's all bull.
responsibility to provide the contract. Wasn't our responsibility to provide the contract to clerk treasurer. Okay, it came from us approved. We told us to be approved on that side. It wasn't, we were unaware. We're the ones that finally provided the contract. Is that right?
We asked for that
Yeah.
contract for a
Keep
long
going
time,
on and
though.
on
and
and on,
Nobody
'cause
could
we're only
even
hearing one
provide.
side. Let's move
Nobody
on.
could even provide an
Huh?
unsigned contract that we could even review. I think that was part of the problem, but I was under the impression that we had been talking to Moosh, and what you're presenting tonight and what you're saying tonight is not what you walked into my office and what I heard you have a conversation with my accountant about. And I really don't appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm not sure what part is different than what I'm saying tonight compared to what I told Brittany, like, that's,
let me say one thing.
so,
Okay.
I mean, I'm here to design the fiber and get it built. Like,
These people have all been patient. If you two want to talk after the meeting, and you, about this contract, that's fine. But
well,
I'm-
I'd already talked to Carrie and the mayor, and we're gonna
We have the
discuss
contract
it.
now, we just need to get it signed by the mayor. Once we get it signed by the mayor and have the executed contract, you will receive payment for your fiber bill.
That would be
I
wonderful.
promise you that tonight. As soon as we get what we need, we will provide payment.
Yeah, you can get that from the mayor's office. I mean, they have the
Oh,
contract.
we will, but we just got the contract, though.
You got a copy of it from us.
Correct.
You're correct. Now, what happened to the original contract or where it was, I don't know. That's what we were trying to find.
I agree with that, but
But we even asked you for an
Correct.
unsigned copy. to get an
correct. And
unsigned copy. You
I
finally
did send that to Brittany,
take a while to get, and we understood
Yes,
that it was
because that
taking
should
a
come
while.
from
I just feel like you're throwing us down tonight.
the mayor's office. That's not our responsibility to
Hold
provide
up,
you guys
hold
with
up.
that.
Now, you guys can argue after the meeting.
I don't want to argue, sir. I just want to.
No, I'm not yelling at anybody. These people have been awfully patient. Some of them might need to take a break, so I'm gonna ask for an adjournment.
Well, wait,
What-
we need to approve
like-
claims first, and then we can adjourn.
I don't,
Please. That's, I mean, that's all we gotta do. If everybody if comments from the audience are done, we just need to approve claims,
I'll
then we
make
can
a
adjourn.
motion to approve all claims.
is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
November 30th.
I think tonight will walk down. I think we'll walk down.
Did you talk to him?
I think so. It's been a while back, but.